I think they've done a full... I don't remember if it's now or... But not that long ago I read about they're doing like a full alpha of all the classes. Because, you know, they've been like drip feeding the classes.
Yeah.
Coming for me. Wait, they don't even have our flag, do they? Oh, mate.
Double kill. There. You should be good.
Yes! Good job.
Nice. With all of the disappointments in 2021, it's nice to see the return of a fan favourite. And whether you're old enough to remember spawn killing the enemy team on Blood Gulch in the original Halo, or you're jumping into the Spartan armor for the very first time, I think it's safe to say Halo has a lot of potential in its IP to provide gamers with a solid experience. But does the multiplayer of Halo Infinite live up to its potential and the success of its previous titles? Hey guys, welcome back. Today Nex and I are going to be breaking down what we think of Halo Infinite, specifically the multiplayer aspect of the game. Halo Infinite multiplayer was released in November 2021, and for the most part people seem to love it. Both Nex and I kind of agree and kind of disagree, which we'll get into a little bit later. And hopefully by the end of the video you'll have some idea about whether you want to invest any of your time into it. As always, if you want to support the channel and you enjoy what you see, please feel free to like or subscribe or both. Halo for the most part is made up of a load of great elements. The maps are really well thought out and provide multiple options to push, defend and run the flag through, all in an effort to get the win over the enemy team. The guns feel pretty good and well balanced, where your starting rifle is more than capable of winning you a fight. And the more powerful weapons like the rocket launcher, sniper and this bolt shredder thing all have pretty reasonable and traditional cooldowns.
No scope. Overshield available.
Oh my goodness. That was brutal.
No scope.
The game modes themselves are really fun and varied, with things like Capture the Flag, Team Deathmatch and Oddball providing enough variation to keep things from getting stale. However, while playing the game we quickly realised that we didn't really agree with all of the hype. To us, the game as an overall experience felt a little like a remaster of an older Halo game, which is great for fans of the series, but for those looking for a modern shooter, for us it was just missing a little something. The very slow time to kill, relatively floaty movement and the traditional simplistic gameplay loop felt a little bit behind the time to us. And to top all of this off, the progression and unlock system in place feels like an afterthought that requires a massive grind to get any progress. In itself, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but because there's very little in the way of character progression, the game feels a little meaningless because of the lack of things to work towards, especially compared to its modern competitors in the market.
The return of Master Chief for most has been long overdue, and with Halo Infinite's release, we got to go back to the glory days of a classic first-person shooter. At first glance, it's a spitting image of what so many of us have spent countless hours on in the past, but with welcomed visual improvements that have captured beautiful environments to play in. Infinite brings your typical Halo mechanics along for the ride too, being on the slower end of time to kill, straightforward combat without flashy abilities, and that oh so nostalgic well-timed melee finish that is bound to make up at least 50% of all kills in quick play. The modes stick to the conventions of the historic Halo series, offering Slayer, a deathmatch mode that has team and free-for-all options, Oddball, where teams will fight over who holds the skull, earning them points for their team up to a threshold to win. Capture the Flag, where two teams need to bring the opposing team's flag back to theirs, whilst defending theirs from being picked up. If they're able to do so, their team gets a point in a first to 3. And finally, Strongholds, where 3 areas marked A, B and C need to be captured to generate points for your team, up to a threshold to win. The modes offer varied styles of gameplay that focus on gunplay, objectives and teamwork, depending on what you're after. As we tend to lean more towards team play, our favourite had to be the Stronghold mode, although we had some crazy Capture the Flag moments too. But that's only when you got to play them. Right now you can't filter your preferred game mode, so you'll be playing what you're given. Generally this is fine because it varies your gameplay, but I can imagine for some this could be a little frustrating. If you're into the more competitive side of FPS, then there is a ranked arena too to get stuck into. Here you'll find where you truly place amongst the best of us.
Come on, no! Man! Oh my goodness, he just teabagged me.
He teabagged you.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy? I love Adele. He is dead.
The movement feels a little slow and floaty in general, particularly compared to most modern titles. However, it's not necessarily a drawback, but a design choice that has been part of the franchise throughout its history. It gives this fluid gunplay loop that allows for satisfyingly well-timed shots on enemies that float through the air, and structures combat in a way that makes you jump right in rather than having options to disengage. That being said, due to the nature of HP recovery, Halo retains its combat styling by requiring that you maintain pressure on your enemy, as giving them several seconds of alone time will allow them to passively reset their health to full. The frequency of respawns in some modes lends to less risk-averse strategy too, especially as you'll come freshly equipped with a couple of grenades each spawn, something you get into the routine of chucking out before being fragged again, just to make good use of them. Of course, Halo does a great job of incorporating vehicles in a non-oppressive way. They feel reasonably balanced and don't quite have that same battlefield killed out of nowhere by a turret half a mile away effect. The combat is more intimate and dynamic, with opportunities to steal control of the vehicles on the fly. Halo's selection of weapons this time round are a combination of old and new. Every character spawns with the default MA40 assault rifle, a decent close to mid-range all-rounder, but you'll soon get used to the weapon spawn locations across the map, showcasing the likes of the old Needler and battle rifle to name a few, as well as a myriad of newer weapons to familiarise yourself with. A large number of review platforms have awarded Halo Game of the Year. Controversially, this is not something we could really agree with. Despite having a great time playing, with minimal performance issues arising, we didn't feel particularly energised to stay on for longer sessions. The game had all the themes and visuals we'd expect to see in Halo, but still somehow felt a little lifeless to us. The visual feedback and audio you get for tagging enemies is not up to par with modern titles, and the maps, although well designed, just made for quite repetitive sessions for us. There wasn't much that stood out to us that made this game feel special, other than some extreme nostalgia and generally fun combat keeping us on this familiar battleground. And this is even when you discount the anger towards the amount of player customization options behind microtransactions, and the undesirable battle pass progression. Although this is something we're generally happy to look over as long as it's not pay to win. And it isn't, we personally don't find it a big deal as we just wouldn't pay for it. But that's just our opinion. They've won awards on many fronts, so 343 Industries seem to be hitting the mark for most people.
So I guess what I mean, oh, look at that. That is amazing.
Just fell in love, didn't you?
I genuinely...
Or the black, the grey and
Because
orange.
it was shiny orange, man. If it weren't shiny orange, then maybe I would have been like, okay, that's alright, but that is nice.
Overall, Halo Infinite's not a bad game. And for those of you who love the older style arena shooters with game modes like Team Deathmatch and traditional Capture the Flag, this may well be right up your street. However, for us there wasn't enough innovation or uniqueness over other titles in the market to really fully buy into the hype. The pace is very slow compared to modern shooters, the time to kill is very long, and the game modes, while varied, could leave players wanting a little more to sink their teeth into. Graphically, the game is decent. It's nothing groundbreaking, but in no way was it lacking. Similarly, the audio is also pretty good, and you're able to pinpoint enemy footsteps reasonably well. And the range of weapons mean that you'll likely have a few favourites to match your playstyle. And at the end of the day, the multiplayer game is free, so you won't really lose anything other than some time and some hard drive space if you feel like giving it a go. For us personally, if you're an FPS fan who likes the feel of old school shooters, this is probably one to give a go. Or if you're just looking for a bit of nostalgia from your time playing older Halo games. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the game, and we'll see you in the next one.